let's talk about my story. If you got some time, I would love to have you hear my story. So let's go. So my story, I can start back as far as high school, and there's really nothing spectacular to be said about my high school story. I'm one of those students that kind of slept in school, didn't really follow the program exactly as I was told to do, questioned everything, wanted to know why things worked the way they worked. It was difficult for me to get through high school. I felt like it was pointless, and the knowledge that they were pumping down my throat was stupid and that it wasn't applicable. And, come to find out later in life, it pretty much is. Everything outside of basic mathematics and being able to read and conversate and articulate your thoughts is really all the skills that you need in order to make it through this world as a bare minimum. So, like I said, I graduated high school with pretty much the lowest GPA that you could possibly imagine. I think it was like right at 2.0 or just below a 2.0 graduating. Definitely voted probably least likely to be successful in high school, which, I always knew that I was going to be successful. I always knew that I was going to do something big in the world. And that is where my story got interesting. When I was 18 years old, I ended up getting into a pretty horrible motorcycle accident at 18 years old. I was driving down the road, saw one of my friends. We were coming into my neighborhood, and I flew past him out of, just being a stupid 18-year-old on a very fast motorcycle. It was a Kawasaki Ninja 1100, if I recall. Much too powerful for an 18-year-old to own or possess.
Out to make. Are you serious, dude? Nah, come on. It's 100 episode. Yeah, dude, go ahead. More power, baby! Yeah.
And I ended up losing control of that motorcycle and crashing into a tree at approximately a guesstimated speed of 60 to 70 miles per hour, decelerating from probably 130 miles per hour and losing control. When I crashed, it ragdolled me across the street or across the sidewalk, and the witness, which was my friend that I passed, thought that I was certainly dead from the impact of what he saw my body go through. I ended up surviving, staying conscious the entire time. I definitely thought that I had tremendous amount of internal injuries, and so did the paramedics. At that moment is when everything came crashing down in my mind, and I realized that my decisions were stupid in that moment, and now I was paying the consequences that slapped me in the face. I ended up with my head going this way, my shoulder being pulled down, and I stretched out a nerve group in my neck called a brachial plexus. The brachial plexus is a complex nerve, looks like a nerve root that other nerves branch from, like the median and all these other nerves. I ended up paralyzing the right side of my body, which was like kind of part of this pec and my entire right arm, for about 2 years, or it was about a year. It was a full year of paralyzation. I ended up going through many doctors that wanted to force me to get surgeries, and I denied those surgeries, and I ended up stumbling into alternative medicine, positive thought, manifestation, and I figured, I got nothing to lose. So I ended up meditating every day. I just sat there focusing on my arm, the muscle group, sending a signal from my brain into my arm, and then miraculously one day I ended up flexing the bicep like that.
Call me blessed, I'm the one spitting raps like the sun.
And when I flexed the bicep, it was a rush of just amazing feeling that came over my body, and I ended up crying and running to my mother at the time. and saying, look, my arm, it flex, it's moved. She didn't know that I was putting so much mental thought and purposeful meditation into healing my arm. But I told her that, and I explained how I did it. So from that point forward, I ended up getting back into exercise, and I started with a 1 pound pink weight, and I took that pink weight and I curled it, and I just kept curling it and curling it and curling it until I built back strength, and I could get to a 5 pound weight. Then I could get to 10s, then I could get to 20s. And I ended up making, I would say, a 99.9% recovery where my arm completely came back. Which was not supposed to happen with the severity of my injuries, and every surgeon that tried to force me to get my arm operated on. So after that, I ended up pretty much becoming homeless. I was 18, I needed a place to live. My parents were going through a divorce, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I bounced from place to place to place, wearing out my welcome. Maybe somebody would give me 6 months here or 7 months here, live with my sister, and, say, hey, Shane, it's time, I've got my own family. I've got things that I'm doing, and you need to pretty much just go on and get on with your life. So it was a period of trials and tribulations, and I didn't know where to go. So I ended up saying, I'm going to try to go in the military. Everybody once again told me, man, you're never going to get in the military. You're too injured. You're too fucked up. There's just no way that they're going to accept you. So I ended up going into, I went into a Navy office first, and thank God they didn't accept me. But they gave me an excuse that I was too old at the time, which didn't make any sense because I was only 20. I didn't know why that recruiter told me he didn't want me to come in there. So I ended up leaving that office, and I went straight into the Air Force recruiter office. And I said, this time I came in with a different approach. I told him, hey, there's this, and this. I'm this close to being homeless. I don't have anywhere to go. I've weared out my welcome at every family member's place. I've only got like 2 weeks until I end up on the streets. I've got this medical history. I was in a motorcycle accident. I paralyzed my arm, but I made a full recovery. And sir, if you can get me in the military, I will drop down and I will pump out 200 push-ups continuously in front of you. And he said, all right, son, get on your face, hit 200 push-ups. And no shit, I pulled off. I was, getting towards about 120 to 130 and saying, why the fuck did I say 200? But in that moment, I dedicated myself to proving him. And I was desperate. I needed a place to go. So I completed the 200 push-ups in front of him, and that showed him that I did recover from my injury. He did whatever he did and got the waivers that I needed and got me into the Air Force. When I was in the Air Force, all the other, people that were there were getting cards from family. We're getting this, we're getting that, and people showing up. And I just sat there. I didn't get a single card. I didn't get a single anything. I was alone. And people would say like, oh, where's your home at? And I remember saying in basic training, this is my home, because I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have any place that I called home. My home was in that moment, in that time space of being in basic training.
Is it this time?
Nah, homie, where you been?
You like to see homos naked?
Homie, where you make it?
So I made it through basic training, got my first duty station, ended up in Germany. I mean, what a hell of an assignment to go out to Germany, get to work with the Polizei, get to do actual real policing with a jurisdiction the size of Rhode Island. It was an amazing experience to be able to run into bars, get into fist fights at 21 years old, pull out your taser, use a taser, get punched in the face. It was just the height of living, for a 20-year-old to be just full throttle kicking ass. And then I ended up doing flyaway security teams and Raven missions, became an armorer, keeping track of all the guns in an armory. And then I decided I wanted to go canine. So I ended up becoming canine. I got stationed at Andrews Air Force Base, got my clearance, my Yankee White, was able to, possess a weapon around the president, pass the top secret security clearance, and then started going on presidential missions for Secretary of State, the Vice President, all sorts of stuff. Working with Secret Service, doing details, and a lot of on-base policing and checking vehicles that are coming into the base, and training and continuously training and trying to learn from all the people around me. And it was a struggle being the new guy. It wasn't very liked in the beginning, but things turned out the way they needed to turn out, and it made me a stronger person. I got out of the Air Force after honorably serving for 6 years, and I started my dog training company. I didn't have any clue what the hell I was going to do. I just knew that I was starting my own company. I had 2 kennels, and I was living in a basement of a house, renting out the top part of the house to a roommate at the time. And that first month, I got my first $2,800 for a board and train, and that solidified in my head that this is my new path and my new goal. I started making money right off the bat, had $10,000 months, was killing it, and then I was still living in Maryland at the time, mind you, and winter came. And when winter came, we got a heavy snow. Nobody was contacting me for dog training. And that was the first winter that I didn't have any money to pay for the gas in my heater for my home, the oil that the heaters use. So I was in the basement of my home, freezing, not able to pay my utility bills. But I survived that winter with a lot of blankets, and I thought I was going to die in that basement. But I made it through. And then I took a temporary job, still knowing that I was going to keep doing my dog training business, and I had to do something I've never done before. I had to learn how to install security systems for U.S. embassies. So I took a job out in Niamey, Niger, Africa, which is the poorest country on the face of the earth, the most impoverished country in the world. And I was out there for almost a year. While I was out there, I got malaria a couple times. One of the times I had been rolling with it for quite a while, not realizing what was wrong with me. And I was pretty much just like the Walking Dead. I was just walking and walking, feeling so tired, so weak, and I started having this feeling of watching myself in a third person, and it was like a Sims video game, and I could see myself just walking, and it was starting to make me start to like hallucinate. So we found out that I was very, very sick with malaria, and I ended up kicking that while I was over there, working in just crazy temperatures, crazy heat. Like I said, the malaria probably could have fucking killed me. Luckily it didn't, because, I can't die like that. Can't go out by malaria. Made it back, and I made a whole bunch of money. Fat bank account. So I reinvested that money in my company, and I started taking in more board and trains, advertising, learning all sorts of shit. And the next part of my story, it goes into realizing the importance of networking, meeting people, helping people, being a servant to others. And I ended up just being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and then those people put me in contact with other people, which opened me up to an opportunity to be able to become a subcontractor on a U.S. government contract. And then we brought in a tremendous amount of money from the contract. And moving forward, that's allowed me to build a massive, home-based facility here in Texas with over 21 kennels, dog runs, training building. I've got acres of property, chickens and horses and all sorts of stuff out here to be able to, give dogs amazing experience through my board and train programs, generate multiple 6 figures every single year, therefore after. And I'm just so grateful from where I came, overcoming the adversity that I overcame, pretty much being paralyzed, laying in a bed, hopeless, um, being lost in the military, having that be my home, deployments. Um, it's been an incredible journey. And now being the founder of the Seven Figure Syndicate, I have full intentions to take every single person that comes into the syndicate to the absolute pinnacle of the top, no matter the adversity that we have to overcome or the difficulties that we're going to face. Our goal is to dominate the $11 billion market together and come together as family and bring back that camaraderie that I had in the military in an industry that just people hate each other. It's going to be life changing for sure for every single person in this syndicate. And I hope that, my story didn't bore you too much. I didn't go into super detail about every single detail of my life, but it's been a struggle. And if I could give you any advice, it's no matter the obstacle or struggle that you're facing, you need to take each day as that day. The next day is going to be entirely new, and it's an entirely new chance to put one foot in front of the other. And you're not bound by any limitations, circumstances, life events, tragedies. You can overcome pretty much anything that you put your mind to. You're a kick-ass, intelligent individual, and I believe in every single one of you that are starting your businesses. And sharing your story with people can help motivate, educate, inspire other people to say, you know what, that guy's been through hell and I'm dealing with this problem. It's really not that big of a deal. I can get through this. So just fucking kick ass every single day. Rock everything you do. Put 100% of effort into it, and never give up, because if you give up, then that's the only time that you fail.